All right, so let's talk about lipids, which is fats, right? Well, some fats are a part of lipids, but there's other things in there too. So lipids do not form polymers. They're not really chains of something, like amino acids. They're not chains like that. They're carbon skeletons, but they're not chains. They're hydrophobic. These are really the only things that are really a group of things that are hydrophobic, that don't mix with water, don't dissolve with water. Just take oil and water and mix it together. You'll have all those little fat droplets for probably about a minute, and then you'll see it divide. It doesn't intermix with the water. We have three important biological lipids: fats, phospholipids, and steroids. And the fats is what we're going to spend a lot of time talking about. Phospholipids are important when we talk about cell membranes, and steroids, well, it's a minutia of different things. You saw a few of them already when I mentioned testosterone and estrogen. So some hormones are made of steroids. So this is fat. This is what you're eating when you eat a Snickers bar. Okay. This is made up of a good example of fat is something called a triglyceride. A triglyceride is made up of this green area here called the glycerol and 3 fatty acids. And these fatty acids is where all those carbon skeleton areas are. And they could be 3 carbons long, they could be 30 carbons long. And it's made up here, here, and here. And each one of those, well, by 2, so 2 carbons, well, 3 carbons, we're going to talk about how that actually makes energy. So these fats are loaded with stored energy. And if you don't use it, it goes into what we call adipose tissue, which is your fat on your body. This is what a typical triglyceride looks like. Here's a glycerol molecule that's attached to 3 fatty acids. Now these fatty acids, you're just looking at 6 carbon chain, or 6 carbons skeleton over here, 6 and 6. But like I said, these carbons can go really long. Now in this particular one, each one of these carbons in the carbon skeleton is linked by a single bond. But they don't necessarily have to be linked by single bonds. They could be linked by double bonds. Glycerol molecule, fatty acid, fatty acid, fatty acid. Long chain. I don't know, something like 17 carbon chain. These 2 fatty acids link the carbon chain into, or by single bonds. This one is also linked by single bonds, except there is 1 double bond there. Notice what the double bond does to the structure of the fatty acid. It bends it. Also, when you look at each one of these carbons, they're attached to each other by single bonds, but they also have the hydrocarbons, right? You also have the hydrogens on either side. When you have a double bond here, there can't be another hydrogen coming off of this, in this diagram here, coming off the bottom on these 2, because then those carbons will have 5 covalent bonds. But how many bonds can a carbon have? Most. 4. So structurally, because there's nothing here, it has space to bend. So, in actuality, what's happening here is that these two have more hydrogens on them. This one has less hydrogen. Do you agree? Good. Saturated fats. Saturated fats are saturated with hydrogens. So, these two fatty acids are considered saturated fats. They're all made up of single bonds, meaning they're saturated with hydrogens. This one is not saturated with hydrogens, it's missing some. But it's not just missing some, it's because there's double bonds there. So when you have a fat or fatty acid that has double bonds there, they're referred to as unsaturated fats. Now, let me explain to you, this is where I start talking like Dr. Oz, but this is why they say saturated fats are worse off than unsaturated fats. Think of my fingers here. Fatty acid, fatty acid, fatty acid. Okay? They're very linear because they're saturated fats. They have no double bonds. So they're saturated with hydrogens and they go in a linear form. They're straight. If there is a double bond in one of those, it'll bend. You got to think three-dimensionally. All right, so this bends. Okay? If there's if there's more double bonds in that one, it's going to bend even more. And it starts, so they're not like this, they're more like this. Okay? So why is that better? We have enzymes called lipase. And they break up lipids. You could get, on this one here, I could get lipase coming on this side and start breaking down things, and on this side. I can't get lipase in between because they're too tight. So it's going to take a long time to break these saturated fats. You see that? But when you have an unsaturated fat, I can get lipase on this side and on this side, and it goes easier to break down. If this was if this is unsaturated, and if this was unsaturated, and another is unsaturated, do you see how fast it'll easily break down? Because they're all bending. They could go on different angles to get to that part to break it down. Is that clear? Can you see that? All right, so saturated fats are saturated with hydrogens. There's no double bonds between the carbons. This makes for more linear structures, straight structures. They're more difficult to break up. However, they're more easily turned into cholesterol, and cholesterol in your arteries start going into the walls of your arteries and make them hard. We call them atherosclerotic plaques or atherosclerosis. Not good, because that leads to heart attacks. So what are saturated fats? They're going to be more of the solid fats that you would eat. Butter, not so much lard. I don't know if anyone cooks with lard as much. Crisco, but it's the solid fats. Basically, my rule, if you want to, anything you spread is bad for you. Peanut butter, jelly, butter, margarine, cream cheese. Anything you spread, if you want to follow that rule, pretty good. Mayonnaise. That's all fat. Not saying do it, but if you think about all the stuff you're spreading, right? For the most part. Unsaturated fats. There's less hydrogens there. There's one or many different double bonds in there, and they make for a bent structure. If there's one double bond in there, we call it a monounsaturated fat. If there's two or more double bonds in there, we call it a polyunsaturated fat. Poly meaning more than one. Right? Are you hearing these words that people say on commercials and talk shit, right? So I'm now putting it together for you guys. It's easier for the enzymes to break this up, and what are they? They're more of your vegetable oils. Whether it's olive oil, canola oil, it's your oils. The liquid form is usually these unsaturated fats. So we clear about saturated fats and unsaturated fats. You understand that? Anybody? Because I'm going to go further. I used to stop right there with my talks, and I usually use the same PowerPoints when I talk about digestion. Okay? But I had to go further. Because there's other things on the market that don't make things, because there are unsaturated fats that are probably more damaging than saturated fats. I know you've heard about them, and that's why I want to go a little bit further, and I'll explain why. But are we okay at this point here before I go further? Yeah? Good. Okay. So again, this is kind of like what a saturated fat looks like. See, they're all straight lines. But look at how it bends in unsaturated fats. Much easier for lipase to go and nab at that thing and break it down. Okay? So let's talk about double bonds and what makes for good or bad unsaturated fats. Now, what I did here is that this is a long, let's say, chain of a fatty acid. I took a section of it, the area where the double bond is. Okay, so the C's will go out further, C's will go out further. I'm just honing in on the part of the fatty acid that has a double bond. Is that clear? Okay. Now, remember, carbon gets four covalent bonds. And with carbons attached with these double bonds, hydrogens can be attached to them at two different locations. Right? We were talking about isomers. This will alter the molecular structure. So what do I mean by that? Okay. For this particular one, we can actually put a bond there and a bond there. Okay? Because it's a double bond here, they can't twist. Or we can put a bond there and a bond there. Remember I was talking about this with isomers. This is a trans fatty acid. That's a cis fatty acid. Oh, now we're hearing some things that you saw in the newspaper commercials and what's on boxes of food and crackers and stuff. Right? But we're using the word trans and cis when we talked about with isomers. Again, my mnemonic would help is that trans is like transatlantic. It's across the Atlantic Ocean, so it's on either side. Whereas cis, think of sisters, spelled differently, but they're on the same side. But that changes it. What does it look like if you put it all together? Okay. This is a trans fatty acid. There's a bend there, but the bend is not so good. In fact, if you look at it closely, or not closely, but if you look at it in distance, it looks very linear. Just the way a saturated fat would be. But there's a bend there. But when you have a cis fatty acid, The bend is, well, you can see that from a distance. This is not good for you. And in some cases, some doctors even say that this is worse off than saturated fats, just the way the chemical bonding works. So this resists enzymatic change or breakage in the human body. All right? Sometimes it's hard to break that down. It remains in your blood circulation for a long amount of time, and again, that deposits in your artery walls, leading to heart disease. This is usually your processed fats, not butter, but margarine. Right? I can't believe it's not butter kind of stuff. It's not real butter, it's that fake stuff that tastes so good. Not good for you. Then we have the cis-fatty acids. You have that double bond, but you've got that clean bend that you can definitely see. These are the best ones you can eat if you're eating fats. You break them down like that. These are more of your oleic acid, omega-9 fatty acids, olive oil, fish oils is in here. These are the ones that you want to look at. Now, this is where I'm going to get back to the community because I want you to make sure you're smarter than the average consumer. You buy a box of wonderful Tostitos crackers or whatever, and it says it is low in trans fatty acids. So you're thinking, well, it must have a lot of cis fatty acids. No. Read the nutritional fact. You know where it says nutrition and calories and stuff? Just because it's low in trans fatty acids does not mean that it's high in saturated fats. Does that make sense? You're looking for something that says high in cis fatty acids, which I've never seen. Trans fatty acids taste so damn good. I can eat, a cracker with this, it tastes good. You give me a cracker that tastes like fish, okay? Or mayonnaise that's made by, have you ever tried the mayonnaise that's made of olive oil? I mean, I like olive oil on salads and stuff, but it's the mayonnaise, it's got a weird flavor to it. So that's why, the food companies, they want to deal with too much of this because people aren't buying their products. Okay? Questions about cis and trans? Yeah. Two singles, yeah. In opposites. When I say opposites, it's this thing over here. Opposite sides. It's going back to that, as opposed to on the same side. Okay? Any questions about cis and trans? Okay. One other thing I got to talk about with fats that is out on the market that you hear about. Hydrogenation, right? It converts, if it's hydrogenated, right? You hear about that. There's fatty acids that are hydrogenated. This is what they do. In the food company, they convert unsaturated fats back into saturated fats by adding more hydrogens. You're making it something unhealthy or something healthy back into something unhealthy. Why do they do this? Well, they want to do it because they need to sell their products. They'll do it because to get it to the right melting point, they have to get it so that there's not many double bonds in there. So in the process of making it, it's cheaper for them to put in that form. Or it lasts longer in the supermarket. We don't want to have you return the stuff back to the food market because it didn't sell. We're losing money that way. Or it makes for a solid buttery texture. You want something that's going to spread really nicely. You don't want to get this and you're breaking up the bread as you're trying to put it on. Right? So they have reasons to do all this. Whether good or bad, but it's all about the mighty dollar. So you could have total hydrogenation, which is converting unsaturated fats to saturated fats, or partial, where you're converting unsaturated fats into trans double bonds, which tends to be, you could do these things up here. So does that make sense? I'm trying to, again, give back to the community. I want to give back to you guys so that you leave college knowing, now it's your choice. Well, now you know the rules, you know what's going on out there. If you want to continue eating the way, like if you're eating that way or not, but at least you know. And you can spread the word to everybody. Okay? Are we clear with that? Yeah? All right. And these trans fats may contribute more to saturated fats than to cardiovascular disease. All right? Understand which ones, and I think that's important for the test, and for yourself, make sure you know which ones are good, which ones are in the middle, which ones are bad. I mean, you really need to know this stuff. And it'll be regurgitated to you when you take nutrition, if that's what you want to do, in organic chemistry, in anatomy and physiology. It's all going to come back. So I'm not lying to you about this stuff. This is your first taste of it. Did you get this at all in high school or no? Some, okay. All right. So good. This is the second time around. So reiteration. All right. So we have now. So those are our fats of the lipid, right? Now we also have phospholipids. Now, phospholipids we're going to start talking about next week after the exam, but I kind of drew for you this glycerol and 3 fatty acids. That's a fat. But we could also cut this down so that there's only going to be 2 fatty acids. And we could draw it kind of like this. All right? We call that a phospholipid. Part of it is polar, and part of it is non-polar. Okay? So it's one glycerol with 2 fatty acids attached to it. This is the basis of what membranes of the cells are all about. So let me ask you this. You have a hydrophilic end and a hydrophobic end. This is very interesting. If I take, now you can't really do this, but theoretically, if I take a beaker and I fill it up right to the top with water, and I put a lid on it. So what I'm trying to draw for you is this beaker that's filled with water right to the top. There is no air in there. All right? There's no air in there at all. Not a slim of air. And then I take this little, not going to scale, but I take this little phospholipid and put it in this beaker of water. What will it do? One particle in that distilled water. What will it do?
I think, so like the hydrophilic end would interact with water, and hydrophobic end would, and so it would kind of mix with water.
So what will it do?
It would partially.
So what will it do? There's water all around it.
We dissociate.
Can't dissociate. What will it do? Yeah. Yeah, but what I'm saying here is that this is polar, but this is not negative. It's just there's nothing here. So what will that do? What will that particle do in that water? Part of it loves water. Part of it hates water. What is it going to do? I'm sorry? It's not going to just sit there. It's what? Divide? No, it doesn't divide. Yeah. There's no other charge. No bonds. Yeah.
So the hydrophilic end is going to go up to the surface?
No, because that's why I want to just make a controlled thing here. There's no air, so there's no surface, so to say. There's no air in there. There's not even a slim of air. If I take it out inside, there's no air. You got it?
Oh, no, I was only going to say if there was air, or if there was...
Yeah, no air. It's water from here to here, here to here. What is it going to do? Yeah. You're thinking that way, but this part hates water. Right? So you're saying it would do this kind of thing. But then this is in the water. One more. Oh, you're just stretching off. Alright, what's going to happen here, it can't find a stable spot. It can't stay in any place in there. What it's going to do is just simply, it's very reactive. It'll go all over the place. It can't find a spot to be stable. Does that make sense? Right? One part loves it, one part absolutely hates it. It just can't find a place to go. Now, we clear with that? You understand that, right? Now, what if I put 10 of those particles in there? What's going to happen? Well, it's different now. Good.
The hydrophobic ends would come together so that the outside, so that the hydrophilic ends are all...
Right. What's going to happen here is that the hydrophobic tails are going to protect themselves away from the water. They would form this kind of setup. Hydrophobic. But in actuality, what will happen is you would have, I can't draw the whole thing, but you would have a bowl. And that part there, it'll be like, if you can see it, it'll be, I'm just drawing it really big, like this. So there's water here, and there'll be water over here. But think of this like all the way around. Does that make sense? You know what I'm building here, right? Yeah. All right? So what you were saying, what somebody was saying, is that it would go to the top. Yes, you're absolutely right. If there was air in there, it would float to the top, and the tails would stick out of the water. But there's no air, I was explaining. So it would form this kind of setup with water on either side, protecting the part that doesn't like water. All right, this is the basis of membranes. This is the basis of eukaryotic cells. And that's what it kind of looks like when you put a whole fluid mosaic over there. All right? Extracellular fluid, intracellular fluid. You've got these proteins in here. Some will have gates to allow things to come in and go and out. We'll get in all into that by Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. Steroids, right? That's another lipid that we got to deal with. All right. Examples of steroids are cholesterol and steroid hormones. And again, I won't ask you to draw this out, but a steroid is basically, all the steroids have this common four-ring structure. And then you have functional groups going off of it.